So this question is a diagram question. Any question that provides some visual input, even if that visual input is in the answer choices, I'm going to call a diagram question. Let's see what they're asking us to figure out here. So the question says the given function C models the annual soybean use in China in millions of metric tons between 1995 and 2014, where X is the number of years after 1995. Okay, so pretty much described what our y-axis is and what our x-axis is for each of our answer choices. The function itself is here, c of x equals 4.3x plus 19. Whenever I see something or a function in this format, I'm immediately telling myself, hey, that's in y equals mx plus b form, which means my slope should be 4.3 and my y-intercept should be 19 in order for the graph to be the correct answer. So the question says which graph represents the model. So again, this becomes very important because I'm looking for the graph that has a slope of 4.3 and a y-intercept of 19. So looking at choice A, looks like I have that 19 y-intercept. Can't tell for sure, but that looks like it's right below 20, so I would call that 19. And then in terms of my slope, I'm going to choose some points that go through intersecting x and y points on the grid as close as possible. So I'm going to choose these 2 points. And I'm going to count up. So my rise over run, right? So slope is the same as rise over run, which is a great way to think of slope whenever you have a graph question. So my rise is from like 70 to 80, so that's 10. And my run is from 12 to 14, so that's 2. So I'm getting 5, right? So I know that that's not going to be exact because, I can't tell for sure if those 2 points are in the corners, but I'm going to get a roughly 5. 5 is close to 4.3, right? So I'm not going to discount it quite yet. Choice B, looks like this is also a 19 for my y-intercept, but in terms of my slope, for instance, if I count it from here to, let's say, here, looks like I'm going up 2, so my rise would be 2. My run would be from 4 to 12, which is 8, so 2 over 8. Well, that's 1/4. Very different number, right? 0.25. That's nowhere close to the 4.3 that I want. So choosing between A and B, I'm going to say A is a much better answer than B. With choice C, again, trying to figure out the y-intercept. If this is 40, this looks like it's very close to 0, right? So I wouldn't even say that's close to 20. 20 should be halfway above. So I'm going to say that's not the correct y-intercept. So for me, C is gone. I could also just double check with the slope and say, well, how about from here to here? That's going to be up. What would that be? If this would be 120, so that's going to be 40 up and what's this, 6? 2 across. So my rise would be 40, my run would be 2. That's a slope of 20. Again, way off of the 4.3 that I'm looking for. So another reason why C is gone. And then choice D, I'm highly certain now that's not a y-intercept of 19. So no need to try slope for choice D. So choice A ends up being the best answer, right? So I really utilize the diagram here to figure out which answer is correct. And again, I have to know that this is a slope-intercept form of an equation. This is a linear equation, and utilize knowing that my slope has to be 4.3 and my y-intercept has to be 19. And even though I got 5 for my slope here, again, I understand that I'm estimating where those values are, and 5 is pretty close to 4.3 and definitely the closest out of the options to 4.3. So choice A is correct.